All right, ladies and gentlemen. The moment has arrived. We are here with My Hero Academia. Now, let me first and foremost say thank you, everyone, for all the love that you showed yesterday. Well, actually, let me go ahead and get the formalities out of the way so I can do this proper, shall we? Yo, peoples! Kyushu92 here, and welcome back to yet another My Hero Academia chapter reaction and review. Before we get started, I just want to say to everyone who showed up to my stream yesterday, my first stream as a full-time YouTuber, I just want to say thank you for all the love from CDez to CJ and Psycho, who's here, by the way. Hey, Psycho, what's going on? Everyone, Grant, and so many other individuals that showed up yesterday to show me love as I explained how I started on this path and how we ended up where we are today. I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. It really was one of the greatest streams that I have ever done on this channel, and it was just such a relief knowing that I can do this and not have to worry about sacrificing what I love to do to go to a place that doesn't revolve around what I love. So I'm glad that I'm in this state. I'm in this mental state, physical state. I'm glad I'm in this state where I can enjoy what I do completely and not have to sacrifice anything for my own happiness. It's such a liberating feeling. You guys don't even know how freeing this is. But let's go ahead and get started with today's chapter because it looks like we are going on break from My Hero Academia. So that means that there's going to be no chapters next week for me to react to other than just me reacting to the usual One Piece episode. Last we left off, All for One was going up against Endeavor, and it looked like Endeavor was putting All for One through the ringer until the last moment where it looked like Endeavor was about to deliver the final blow, and he uses Prominence Burn on All for One. All for One gets literally burned to a crisp. But apparently, he learned how to reverse engineer the quirk destroying drug and made it so now it can be used to restore instead of destroy. And the process of which he did that is, he said that even villains can be scary when they're backed into a corner, and he starts to regenerate his face. His body starts to regenerate. So his eye fully regenerates and his ear fully regenerates. Now, mind you, the upper half of his face was completely obliterated during his last fight with All Might, before his last fight with All Might. But now he's in a state where it looks like he's regenerating his body. And then it showed Midoriya flying overhead as Yoriichi was able to sense that his brother, something was happening with his brother. Like he said, like, I got a bad feeling about this. And it showed Midoriya flying over the ocean with several objects flying towards him. We don't know what these are, but maybe we'll find out in this chapter. But as of right now, we are cut directly to the fortress, the flying fortress where Shigaraki is fighting everyone else in chapter 358, The Guy Who's Made Some Progress. And it shows Shigaraki just decimating the entire area, just decimating the entire fortress over and over again with just an endless wave of fingers. It's really weird how he's transmogrified his entire body this way. That he's able to it's tendrils, but it's all made up of fingers, and it's really weird. It's body horrors levels of things, but Shigaraki says, "So all you can do is flee." And it shows Amajiki as he gets knocked to the side, and it shows Nejido. She says, "Sun Eater!" And then she uses her quirk trying to keep a wave of fingers from hitting her. And then it shows Nejide almost get hit by him as she gets hit into like a pillar of other fingers that just appears right behind her, and Best Jeanist says, "Keep on your toes. We have to keep moving, lest he swallow us up." And it shows Best Jeanist and pretty much everyone dealing with the fact that Shigaraki just has this endless tendrils of fingers. Like, picture the large torrent of sentinels in the Matrix movies, where you just see a long, gigantic, tube-like mass of sentinels in the Matrix movies. Picture that, but it's completely made up of fingers. the entire time. And it shows Nejire, it shows Miriko along with Bakugo in the midst of this as well, as it looks like Best Jeanist pulled him away out of the way of like a torrent of fingers. And Best Jeanist continues saying, "Continue to evade and target his core." And then we got Edgeshot here, and I think he's saying, well, I think this is Best Jeanist still going, because it shows Edgeshot using his quirk to go through the fingers, like just pierce through the fingers constantly. As Best Jeanist says, "The surging hands are surely a massive threat, but in exchange he's forsaken that mobility reminiscent of All Might." And it shows Edgeshot going through the fingers and cutting through them constantly and then bursting out of the top of one. "Ninpo, Pulp Thread Throttle." And then it shows the spot where Edgeshot burst out from completely regrows with more fingers. "He asserts that this thing is not the doing of quirks, but rather simple growth. A dubious claim," says Edgeshot. And then Shigaraki says, "The more the all-for-one quirk takes root within me, the more my body adapts to the legion of stockpile quirks within, along with various environmental factors. My body is searching, groping around for its ideal form, understand, Shinya and Kamihara?" And this doesn't sound like Tomura speaking. This sounds like the personality of All for One speaking as well, but with Shigaraki's voice. "With this body and this power, all will come to rest in the palm of my hand, giving rise to a world of my own, or one beyond me entirely. Appearance, form, function, for a world split beyond any hope of a status quo. All that awaits is schism and destruction. These massive disparities give rise to an incomprehension, and that lack of understanding in turn leads to dread and rejection. That's the present state of the world, no? But under my rule, all will be united as the exploited class. All will be equal. Don't heroes yearn for world peace? Is it that hard to imagine actually taking a step towards that?" And my thing is, All for One is trying to make it seem like he's doing something that's better for the world, but he's only doing it so that he could just rule the world and dictate how the world functions. It's not a matter of him getting rid of the status quo. He wants to get rid of the concept of people making up rules other than him. It's got nothing to do with the status quo. He's already made it known that he doesn't care about anyone but himself. So why would he be doing this to upset the status quo or change up how the world views quirks or anything? It's not even about how the world views quirks. It's about how much power can I get so I can rule the world and dictate how the world functions. That is always how it's been. He's always talked like, "I'm doing this for people who have been ostracized by quirks," when really, the people who have been ostracized by their own quirks are the people he manipulates to do his bidding. He doesn't care what happens to him. Like, look at Lady Nagant. He blew her up because he didn't want to risk, he had the contingency of, if she betrays me, then I'll just kill her. That's basically how he sees everyone. You're a pawn until I don't need you. And then when I don't need you, you can die for me. That's how he views it. So when he's spouting off this nonsense, the personality of All for One, mind you, when he's spouting off all this nonsense saying that that's the present state of the world, no, but under my rule, all will be united as the exploited class. All will be equal. Oh, I just noticed here. All will be united as the exploited class. All will be united as the exploited class. Now, maybe I'm reading deeply into this, but he just sees everyone else as something he can exploit. Maybe I'm just reading too deep into it, and maybe I'm looking too deep into it, but it seems like when he says, it's easy to pass over that sentence, all under my rule, all will be united as the exploited class, all will be equal. As in, everyone will be equal for me to manipulate in every way. Heroes, other villains, people with quirks, people without quirks, all will be equal under my rule. Don't heroes yearn for world peace? Is it that hard to imagine actually taking a step towards that? All will be equal under his rule, but all will be united as the exploited class. Interesting. But he says, that's the present state of the world, no? But under my rule, all will be united as the exploited class. All will be equal. Don't heroes yearn for world peace? Is it that hard to imagine actually taking a step towards that? And then Bakugo says, look, I don't know if that Shigaraki or All For One droning on right now. All this exercise helped me stock up more than enough. Time to whip out what the support course made for me. And some things start to appear on Bakugo's back. I don't know if that's Shigaraki or All For One droning on right now, but either way, I'm about to hurl from hearing it. Ever since Kamino, nothing but yap, yap, yap. And then, what? Bakugo's got shoulder cannons. Bakugo's got shoulder cannons! Suppressive heavy mobile unit. Straf Panzer. This dude's got shoulder cannons. Hope you're ready to be Swiss cheese. Gotta destroy his real body. And Bakugo just unloads on Shigaraki with his, this is so cool. Bakugo's got shoulder cannons. Like 3 sets of cannons on each shoulder. And each one has like 2 separate barrels per one set. So he has like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 different areas he can shoot from all at once. And this is his support item. The dude is a walking gun turret now. Hope you're ready to be Swiss cheese. Gotta destroy his real body. And then Bakugo just unloads everywhere on Shigaraki's fingers everywhere. And then Merkel says, all of us together! What? As a team? Well, Bakugo says, all of us together! What? As a team? And this is the first time that Bakugo was actually... Is this the first time that Bakugo is actually going out of his way to say, let's do this together as a team? Like, vocally. Like, there was that moment where he was going up against Class 1B saying, like, we're all going to be able to get this done instantly as long as you do as I say. But here's a moment where he's actually like, we got to do this all together. He's not going all gung-ho, which was his personality as it used to be, but he's going all out now and saying like, all of us together. And then Mirko says, what? As a team? And then it cuts to Eraser and Monoma. Bakugo is going, while Monoma and Sensei have still got his quirks locked down with Erasure, while Kaminari's team is still keeping this arena powered up, while Yaoyorozu and them are still replacing the ground to stand on. And it cuts to Bakugo, thinking back to when Midoriya ran out to save him when the slime monster quirk user, had him engulfed in the very first chapter. He's thinking back to when Midoriya ran out to go help him. And then it has the words of Shigaraki going, and that lack of understanding in turn leads to dread and rejection. And then Bakugo goes, you want to talk about some big disparity? Lack of understanding? Dread? Guess what? I've long since taken all that crap to heart. And it just shows Bakugo constantly firing down. And then it shows Best Jeanist, because it looks like the fingers all converge on Bakugo, and Best Jeanist says, Bakugo! And Bakugo says, and I've seen a real step towards progress with all that. It might take time, but some people I know are trying to push forward. Thanks anyway, but you can shove your sermon, you nutsack face handyman! Great explosion, murder, god, dynamite! No, it's not it's not Bakugo saying that. It's Best Jeanist saying, great explosion, murder, god, dynamite! And then it cuts to Bakugo. It shows Bakugo getting past all these fingers as he's thinking back, all I want to know is how much punch my new cluster moves are packing. Taking on One For All is just another box to tick on the path to Shigaraki and All For One. And then it shows Bakugo using a new move called Howitzer Impact Cluster! And then it just shows him using his quirk in conjunction with his gun turrets as he just unleashes a hail of explosives down towards Shigaraki, and that's the end of the chapter. And we're going on break for My Hero Academia until the 18th. Well, there we have it. Stelis, what's going on? Good to see you. Shigaraki's fingers is the gross version of Robin's devil fruit? Yes, it is. It's incredibly gross. Wait, would all those cannons weigh him down? I figure if Hatsume made it, she probably would have made it incredibly powerful, but also very lightweight. I mean, she did come up with the entire concept of the flying UA fortress, so it's not too... Forgot to put that on mute, my apologies. So it's not out of the realm of possibility for her to make lightweight heavy artillery. I mean, she is a genius. Wait, would all those cannons weigh him down? Maybe he's strong enough to handle it all at only maybe to handle it only once. Maybe it's like a one shot. It could be a one shot. It could in fact be like a one-time use thing for his cluster move. But this was actually a pretty good chapter. I enjoyed it. Let me go back here because it shows that All for One, the personality inside of Shigaraki, because this is not Shigaraki. Especially when he goes on in these long spout off. You can tell the difference between Shigaraki because Shigaraki's speech bubbles are kind of gravelly. And the way they're written is kind of disjointed. Not Comic Sans like, but almost unrefined. The way that his words are written in his speech bubbles. So Shigaraki is the one that's talking, saying, "So all you can do is flee?" And then later on, as he's facing off against Amajiki and Nejide, Yeah, Nejide, not Nejido, but Nejide. Hold on. Yeah, it was Nejide. As he's facing off, as Amajiki and Nejide are trying to survive the onslaught of finger tentacles. I don't even know what to call it. Best Jeanist is dodging them, and everyone is on the defensive, trying to avoid getting hit by it. And it shows Edge Shot and Mirko and Bakugo all avoiding it as well. Edge Shot cuts through the fingers and explodes them, but the uniqueness of Shigaraki's finger tendrils, they regenerate, and it continues to turn into like an endless torrent of fingers. This is nasty. It's gross. You remember how Johnny Storm said that Reed being able to stretch his fingers under the door in the Fantastic Four movie and then unlock it was gross? No, this is grosser. An endless growth of fingers that are on top of each other is like it's like this. Like, the best way, if it's like an amalgam. I'm trying to do it in a way that doesn't make me look too weird. It's like an endless amalgamation of fingers just over each other, over and over, overlapping each other. It's just gross. It's nasty. But as this is going, and Edgeshot says he asserts that this is not the doing of quirks, but rather simple growth, a dubious claim. And that's when the personality of All for One takes over, saying, "The more the All for One quirk takes root within me, the more my body adapts to the legion of stockpiled quirks within, along with various environmental factors." So what All for Shigaraki is saying here is that the All for One quirk is starting to become more and more used to the body itself. And with it taking root in the body, the body is adapting to the All for One quirk with all the other stockpile quirks in him, along with different factors, including the superhuman experimentation that Garaki did to him. So what he's saying is that his body is currently in a state where it's trying to find its ideal final form. Basically, you know how Aizen, and speaking of Aizen and Bleach, did y'all see that Bleach trailer? Oh my goodness, Bleach coming back. The anime just looks so clean. I'll upload the screenshots that I took to the Discord so you can see just how clean the certain images look, including ones that I have currently as my wallpaper. But it's like Aizen taking the Hogyoku in himself, and as he's slowly, his body is adapting to it and slowly transcending his original Soul Reaper form. And as his body was trying to slowly ascend and become grander and become more used to the power he was in himself, he would go through several different forms that would become increasingly more powerful with each form. You have his standard form when he was in his Espada outfit. Then you have the form he takes where the Hogyoku starts to envelop him and put him in like this little cocoon suit, and then it bursts open and he has long hair, his appearances change, and he's so powerful that he's able to disintegrate people just from them being in his presence. And then it cuts to the point where Aizen, who couldn't stand going up against Ichigo, ascends into a brand newer form that Ichigo still beats, and then Aizen is left in a state where even though he got nerfed, he's still incredibly powerful thanks to him transcending his own, I wouldn't say humanity because he's not a human, but his own existence. That is what Shigaraki, All for Shigaraki, is currently going through right now, because the All for One quirk has not settled in him. His body is still adapting to the quirk. And as it's taking root deeper within him, along with all of the stockpile quirks he has in him, his body is trying to find and get closer to the ideal form in which to have the All for One quirk and all the quirks that is in him. His body is adapting to find that perfect synergy, so he has the perfect body to hold all these perfect quirks. That's what his body's currently going through. And then he says, with this body and this power, all will come to rest in the palm of my hand. Basically saying, as soon as my body finds its ideal form, this world is mine, giving rise to a world of my own or one beyond me entirely. Appearance, form, function, for a world split between any hope of a status quo, all that awaits is schism and destruction. These massive disparities give rise to incomprehension, and that lack of understanding, in turn, leads to dread and rejection. Talking about how people view people with abnormal quirks and get ostracized because of it, and they are kind of put into different groups due to how those in power say, well, people with this quirk, let's not pay them any mind. All for One says, that's the present state of the world, no, but under my rule, all will be united as the exploited class. All will be equal. Don't heroes yearn for world peace? Is it that hard to imagine actually taking a step towards that? This is just another way of All for One saying, you know what? He says all of this, and he's still trying to mentally manipulate the heroes into thinking that maybe he has a point. Because that's all for One ever does. He always tries to put this idea that I'm right, and he's trying to resonate with people and say things to try and steer people's idea of thinking into his way of thinking. That's how he's always manipulated people. But ain't nobody having it. Bakugo ain't having it. He says he's tired of hearing this man spout on. He remembers all the way back in Kamino. And that's when Bakugo brings out his shoulder cannons, his suppressive heavy mobile unit, Strafe Panzer, and then just unleashes what seems to be an endless torrent of explosive bullets that hit all the fingers directly in front of him, and he's just constantly blowing it up. Then it shows Mirko, along with what looks to be Best Jeanist and possibly Edgeshot, with Bakugo saying, gotta destroy his real body, all of us together. It cuts to Monoma with Eraser, keeping his quirks erased. It cuts to Kaminari and his team, keeping the arena powered up. It cuts to Yaoyorozu and her team as they're working really hard in order to create materials, in order to keep the ground completely intact, so they always have a place to stand on. And then Bakugo remembers the moment where Midoriya went out of his way to go and try and rescue him, even back when he had no quirk. He remembers that. And then Bakugo talks about lack of understanding, dread, big disparity. This is Bakugo coming to terms and acknowledging that he has grown, thinking about all the things that have hampered him in the past, because he says, guess what, I've long since taken all that crap to heart. And during this time, Best Jeanist says Bakugo, and Bakugo acknowledges that he's seen a real step towards progress with all that. So everything that has gone on with Bakugo, he has learned to take it to heart and take it and not be overly selfish into thinking that he knows it all. He doesn't need anyone to tell him this. He doesn't need anyone to tell him that. He's taken it to heart and has learned from his feeling of inadequacies in comparison to Midoriya, his feelings of powerlessness, his feeling of always trying to be better than anyone else. He's taken all of these insecurities and all of these pivotal moments in his life where he thought he was the top dog, lack of understanding and dread in these moments where all of his bravado and all of his power was left helpless when he was face to face with someone or something that could not overtake. He's now taken all of that to heart. And while Best Jeanist was calling him Bakugo before, he then ends up calling him Great Explosion Murder God Dynamite. And it shows Bakugo saying, it might take time, but some people I know are trying to push forward. Thanks anyway, but you can shove your sermon, you nutsack-faced handyman. And it shows Bakugo using Howitzer Impact Cluster against Shigaraki in the final panel. We don't see the impact or how powerful it is, but that's the end of it. At this point, who'd win the fight now, All For One or Madara Uchiha? Madara, because All For One doesn't have the powers of... All For One has a lot of power, but he doesn't have godlike power. He just has very destructive power. Madara Uchiha literally has the power of the man who created the ninja world. So Madara's power transcends that of All For One. All For One's quirks and the quirks that are linked to him are all just elements that come from a quirk-like natural level. Well, semi-natural level. Madara operates beyond mortals. So I'd give it up to Madara. If it was between All For One or Madara, it would be Madara Uchiha. I mean, the only person who could stand up to Madara was the first Hokage, and that was it. No one else could stand up to him. But that's my opinion. But overall, this was a very good chapter. Now we're dealing... because I had a feeling we were not going to have a chapter when we would see who Midoriya was about to go up against flying over the ocean. I had a feeling we were going to cut away, because we always do. I had a feeling we were going to cut away from the action that was happening with Endeavor and the real All For One and Midoriya. I had a feeling we were going to cut away from that and go back to Bakugo because we haven't been there in a hot minute. The last two, I want to say 2 or 3 chapters, we were dealing with All For One going up against Endeavor, but we didn't spend too much time with paying attention to Bakugo and the rest of them. Like, we got passing panels, but never a full chapter dedicated to Bakugo and the rest of the team dealing on the fortress. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next 2 or 3 chapters deals with Bakugo and the rest of his team dealing with Shigaraki inside of the fortress, and we see what happens then, and then we cut back to Midoriya and whoever he's about to encounter going over the ocean right now. I don't know, but we'll just have to see. Overall, I'm liking My Hero Academia. There will be no chapter reactions for either One Piece or My Hero next Sunday because One Piece is currently on break until the 24th of this month, and My Hero goes on break until the 18th. And actually, when I look at this, it says 18th. So yeah, we're skipping next week, and then the week after is when the next chapter comes out. So I'm looking forward to that. But that's all, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys enjoyed my reaction. I enjoyed this chapter, and I'm looking forward to the next one. I got a lot of things planned now that I'm full-time now, and it's, I'm going to have to get used to laying down and going to sleep at night with everyone else and not going to sleep early and then waking up in the middle of the night in order to go to work. I'm going to have to get used to that now because this is my life. This is my life now, doing what I love, and you're probably going to hear me saying this for a while now. It's just, I'm overwhelmingly happy that I am in a place where I can do what I love and I can finally rest. It's such a weight lifted off my shoulders. This has been an 11-year weight on my shoulders of doing this sort of thing, and now it's gone. I'm happy. But that's all I got. All I can say is, hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. And if you're new to the channel and you enjoyed what you saw here today, then like, subscribe, and maybe even consider becoming a member because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day. And once again, as always, later, peoples. Congrats, bro. I pray opportunities flow in like crazy. Hey, I'm speaking it out right now, and I just thank everyone for the support because we're going to have a whole lot more fun now. Y'all better get ready. I'm trying to do an outro and these sneezes. Dang.